It's been a while since we've received any news regarding the internet's favorite that girl from college, Gabbie Hanna. Unless you think it's newsworthy that she's been posting the same type of artsy content on TikTok that you would expect from a bored trust fund kid, such as paintings I don't understand and spidery dance moves straight from a stage adaptation of Charlotte's Web. But today, we're catching Gabbie Hanna on the cancel culture episode of Red Table Talks with the Estefan from Facebook Watch, where all elderly mothers get their most relevant misinformation. Unfortunately for her, in this episode, Gabbie steps out onto the stage and immediately into the giant hole she's been digging for herself by severely misreading the room and coming for Perez Hilton for doing basically the same things that she herself was also canceled for. So let's all brace ourselves for that, plus some dubious interview tactics, questionable expert statements, and audio recordings that make me feel like these microphones were hidden inside the stomachs of these talk show hosts and their guests. In another Gabbie Hanna-centered installment of Clip Breakdown. Hello, television viewers. My name is Nick. Thank you so much for joining me once again on my channel for another installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other content here on the web, and we smash it into easily digestible segments to say, let's table that one for the YouTube channel, or let's broadcast that live to hundreds of people, which I think is the case for this Red Table Talk with Gabbie Hanna. Now, I was aware of Red Table Talk with the Jada Pinkett Smith. The whole concept is they take a famous family and have 3 generations of people talking about the show. So now we have that, but with Gloria Estefan and her family. But before we get into it, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see even more clip breakdowns just like this. But most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week, so turn on notifications. That way you'll always be the first to know when we've got a hot new segment full of celebrity children. Also, I'm clearly in my parents' basement right now, not home. I'm flying home tomorrow. Oh, to shoot a video in this goddamn house, it's like you might as well be in a haunted mansion on the moon. The way things get lost, I swear. Don't try to have lip gloss in this family. It will get swallowed up in the ass crack of a couch. Anyway, I love getting to hear straight from Gabbie as she tries to verbalize her feelings without sounding defensive or egotistical. So, let's get into it.
Has cancel culture gone too far?
Everything I do is twisted.
Jigsaw explaining his traps throughout the Saw movie franchise. How much do you want to bet that this phonetic spelling of cancel culture is going to inspire the name of Kris Jenner's next grandchild? Our new baby cancel culture Kardashian is welcomed into the world. His father is a greasy tattoo artist who did drugs with me once in college. Also, I didn't realize it until just now, but turns out I never want to have a TV appearance that's preceded by archive footage of me crying on the couch with no makeup. Unless it's a TV show talking about how sexy, unfiltered, and sad my OnlyFans content is. Make sure you subscribe by Valentine's Day when I'll be doing a live burlesque number while talking about the people I know who have died. So the beginning of this episode begins with interviewing Perez Hilton, who many people know from kind of revolutionizing the gossip blogger industry in the early thousands. And up until 2010, Perez Hilton was pretty vicious and, let's say, not politically correct with a lot of his reporting, which he apologized for in 2010. And then tried to make a pivot towards, more responsible kind of news stories or less bullying, I guess you could say. Oh, and for the record, the other people on this panel, aside from Gloria Estefan, who is, I guess you would say, a baby boomer at age 64, she also has her niece, Lily Estefan, who is in her early 50s, and then Emily Estefan here, who is Gloria's daughter, who is 27. So 3 generations of women coming together to talk about cancel culture.
I feel like accountability, personally for me, and cancel culture are 2 separate things. I'm glad the world is changing and we need to hold people accountable for being racist or being homophobic.
The sound designer of this show was homophobic. I'm just gonna call it out because I hear the PA rustling on their folding chair in the background. Anyway, continue.
I think, personally, it has gone too far. I think it's dangerous. Human beings are gonna make mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes.
The sound mixer made a mistake by putting that microphone under your structured blazer, because we are hearing the sound of that fabric rustling like it's a Jack Terrier. Hi, I'm Nick DiRamio with Clip Breakdown, popping in for a quick customer feedback survey. We're curious how you felt about our most recent wordplay on Jack Russell Terrier. If you found the joke to be too clever to elicit laughter, please send a check for $100 to the address on your screen. If you felt that the joke was perfectly written written so that even your tiny brain could understand it, please send $200 to the address on your screen. And if you find it condescending for me to even ask whether you understood that joke, you are not in the target demographic for this survey, and you will now be hunted. Goodbye. I mean, I'm gonna stop talking about it, but the sound is a little off throughout this entire Red Table talk, and I get it. Sound recording on set is hard. Sometimes what you got is not as clean as you want it to be, and I've certainly had videos where the sound is not so great, but the rest of the show just seems so professional. Like, it seems like they've obviously got a couple of these episodes out, and the past episodes that they flash back to seem to have better audio, so I don't know what's up on this day. Maybe someone called in sick.
The danger is there that it's a broad spectrum. Some people have been canceled for things that they haven't even done.
Okay, fine, Emily. We all believe that it was your egg salad that smelled like a fart in 3rd grade. Can you stop carrying that torch around? When I think of people who you might be able to say were canceled for something that they didn't even do, I think it's smarter to look at the larger societal things that are causing those injustices rather than blaming cancel culture itself. For example, I think Amanda Knox is still largely blamed or assumed guilty for a murder that she was acquitted of as a teenager. And I don't think it's because people on Twitter are just desperate to cancel somebody. I think it's because the police forces are corrupt. It's not cancel culture that caused Amanda Knox to be smeared in the press, both Italian and American. That's our problems with women being reflected in the media. I feel like if cancel culture is just holding people accountable for their wrongdoings, then that power could only be unfairly used in the same ways that people are generally oppressed unfairly in this country. With cancel culture, like with many things, such as criminal justice or healthcare, the people with more privilege can get away with more. They get more leniency, and if something goes wrong, they face lower consequences than people without those privileges. So I think that's a problem with cancel culture, but it's not cancel culture's problem. It's America's problem. We're just not an equal society. Gloria Estefan even talks about how she was once canceled. She wrote an op-ed piece saying how she stood with Cuban artists and believed that they should still be able to perform in Miami at the time as part of our embargo. But even though she explicitly said, I do not side with communism, she was still smeared as a communist in the press. So I think that's Gloria Estefan trying to draw in her own experiences with cancellation. Although I did notice that hers is the only example of someone being canceled in the press for something that we can now retroactively look back on and see as like a noble or heroic act of rebellion or activism. Now we can look back on Gloria and be like, oh my gosh, they blacklisted you for no reason. So her example is not really being canceled, it was being truly unfairly persecuted in the press. Okay, so without much further ado, after just introducing him as someone who had to apologize in 2010, as I said, for canceling people who were suffering from mental issues, such as Britney Spears or Lindsay Lohan, and it's true, Perez Hilton certainly was not compassionate for those people at the time, as were many media outlets, and there was really no reason for that. Like, we all knew what mental issues looked like, yet it was still somehow largely okay to make fun of them or make jokes about them. And it's also mentioned that Lily Estefan, she famously was the co-host of a Univision talk show called El Gordo y la Flaca, which did many things that would now be looked at as politically incorrect. So just putting that out there too, a lot of people at the table have had experience with this type of nuance.
I was a drug addict.
Oh?
Attention was my drug.
Oh, I feel like I already knew that about him. Not to sound disappointed, but for a second I thought Perez Hilton was gonna spill some tea about how he spent 2007 popping fen-fen and cyberbullying Reese Witherspoon. If it's just attention that he's hooked on, I'm not that interested, sorry. That's one of the addictions that my therapist isn't even touching for at least another 3 more years, due to the other, more chronic issues that are killing me faster. So the most recent thing that Perez Hilton has gotten into trouble for is being banned from TikTok for commenting something inappropriate under Charli D'Amelio's sort of TikTok of her dancing in a bikini. I do remember vaguely when this happened, Perez Hilton commented under the picture, is this appropriate for a child? And I see the point. I see where everyone was coming from, where it's like, if we see a child in a bathing suit on vacation, it doesn't mean that they're being sexual. So granted, I definitely understand why people were correcting Perez Hilton. And although I don't see this comment as something something toxic enough in its language to cause someone to be banned from social media, from any platform, but it's what happened. So, let's see.
I saw this video because she was and still is the most followed person on TikTok, Charlie D'Amelio.
Oh man, she could just not help but jump in there to be the power host. She said, Chuggy the Domino. Of course, Chuggy Dimmadome. Yep, of course, everybody knows Charlatan Dance Hall. She's the most famous TikTok knocker on the fleek web. It's okay, we know you know, Emily. Let's just let him talk.
I would have rephrased it now.
Okay.
Is this appropriate? Maybe.
That was the question?
But didn't you also call her like bland?
She's very girl next door. Bland, basic, boring.
That's still a 15-year-old girl. She's a child.
Okay, fine, but does the child do anything that people find interesting? Okay, you're right. That did sound like a much more pointed way of making my observation. Listen, I'm kidding. I, for one, am not confused about why Charlie D'Amelio is famous. Sometimes internet celebrities just make it big because they're naturally entertaining. And other times, the world goes crazy for a dancing baby screensaver. And that's okay too. So I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that the D'Amelio family, who is on TV with their own reality show, is somehow as intriguing and alluring as the Kardashians. And while it definitely wasn't polite, I don't think that bland girl next door, boring, would even make the top 10 list of worst things a gossip blogger has called the D'Amelio family, even Charlie. And honestly, I don't think there should be that much of a difference between a 40-something-year-old person calling a 15-year-old bland and the thousands of 15 to 20-year-olds who called her a stuck-up, horrible creature when she didn't eat the escargot that was served to her as a joke in a private chef YouTube video. That whole generation was taught not to be mean to other people online since they were toddlers, and yet they're still the undisputed masters at it. So let's not pretend that Perez Hilton making a boomer comment on TikTok is the most harmful interaction we've seen on there. And furthermore, if someone is old enough to call out Perez Hilton for being inappropriate or saying something rude online, then they should know better than to participate in the same thing when someone else is being canceled, right? Like, you either know enough to keep your mouth shut or you just want to yell at other people when they're doing it. So let's just make sure we've got the same standards for ourselves as we do for the celebs. One thing that I notice a lot in these arguments is people bringing up age as though it means way more than it should. I believe in treating children with respect and letting children make mistakes without canceling them for it, absolutely. But, obviously the D'Amelio family, including Charlie, have opted into riding out this Hollywood lifestyle in the public eye, and it's never going to be possible to make it so that child performers are shielded from criticism. Even before the internet was a thing, Jake Lloyd, played young Anakin in the Star Wars prequels, quit acting because of the horrible death threats he got from grown adults. So while it's true that these people who are not so tactful have more direct access to the people they're making fun of, it's like that's because they're sick people. And by being on the internet, there's always going to be sick people. We cannot change that, unfortunately. I think we're helping reduce it by having these conversations and pointing out, like, you should really think about the person behind the figure that you're bullying online. But I don't think it's valid to say that, as a 40-year-old person, you cannot have an opinion about the entertainment that a 19 to 15-year-old is producing. Granted, yeah, it's tough to hear that you're boring, but the entertainment industry, if you're auditioning, you're going to hear awful things about your body and your face and your personality. It is unfortunately the name of the game. I don't think it makes it okay, and I do think it's okay to call out the people who do this, but this particular example from Perez Hilton, it kind of feels like, especially with Emily Estefan here, she's just lumping this in with his other cancellation from the early 2010s in order to make him seem like the most problematic person they could have been on the show, when I don't think he necessarily is. They do bring up the fact that he used to have basically a gay witch hunt where he would out closeted celebs such as Clay Aiken or Lance Bass or Neil Patrick Harris before they were ready.
I would tell myself all these mantras, all these talking points. Well, I'm just sharing with my friends online what my friends in private talk about. So why should I treat my public friends any differently than my private friends?
They're not your friends. They're the audience of these people.
I'm not going to say that Emily Estefan seems eager to attack Perez Hilton in this interview, although she did just jump out of her seat to try and yell at the 2007 version of him. You can actually see Gloria stops herself from interjecting because she kind of realizes it's not the time. Just like how I chose not to interrupt my sister-in-law's anniversary speech by singing Colors of the Wind from Pocahontas, because I finally realized it's gonna be so much better to save that for the moment she gives birth. The reason they're bringing up Perez Hilton outing gay celebrities is because there was sort of a incident back in 2016 that kind of mirrors this, where Lauren of Fifth Harmony, she was outed in a wedding photo, which Perez Hilton reposted on Twitter at the time.
The photo that you tweeted, it was almost forcing her to come out.
And my immediate family knew, but it was like in news.
So you were outed to the public?
Yeah.
I don't view myself as outing her.
That picture that was in the photo booth, she never intended for that to get out.
Just based off the information this show is giving me, I don't feel like Perez Hilton lowered himself Mission Impossible style from the studded pink leash of his chihuahua into Lauren's room to steal that photo out of her trapper keeper. Let me make it clear, I'm not trying to invalidate the fact that Lauren felt violated by seeing that personal photo retweeted on Perez Hilton's Twitter. She has every right to be upset about that. But at the same time, I'm looking at this screenshot, and the tweet itself sort of makes it look like he was downplaying some of the rumors that might have been swirling around elsewhere on Twitter. So it's not like he was the first to publish this photo on the internet. He didn't leak the photo and say, look how gay she's being. In fact, he says kissing another girl is NBD. That doesn't mean he's handling this perfectly though. Like I don't like this at all. So this is where it gets muddy for me.
For especially young women, sexuality is so fluid.
What is wrong with you? A lot of people in society will look at two women together and they don't legitimize our relationship because they're like, oh, girls make out with girls. It's just a college phase.
Ugh, I thought my alcohol abuse was just a college phase, and then one day I look around and suddenly I'm doing grad school at Crystal Meth University. I agree with everything Emily is saying here, and I don't agree with how Perez Hilton is asserting something so general about women's sexuality when it's something he doesn't have any direct experience with. I think he could have made his counterpoint a lot more succinctly by just saying that as a gossip blogger, he was reposting a leaked viral trending photo that was going around Twitter. So if he didn't do that, he really wouldn't be doing his job on that day. But based on the text, it seems like he was trying, from his perspective, to treat it in a different way than he would have in 2007. He wasn't sensationalizing the gay rumors. In fact, it seems like he was saying, you know, people can kiss anybody and we shouldn't treat it as a big deal. He wasn't assuming that she was in a relationship with this woman, and although he says it now in person, his tweet didn't mention anything about this is not a big deal because women tend to have really fluid sexuality. So I would have just read it as like, oh yeah, people can kiss whoever. It could have been a joke, it could have been a relationship, it could have been, it doesn't matter what, but it's just a picture. Here's my thought on it. That's why it felt to me like he was trying to combat the gay rumors, if you will, and it sort of feels like now Emily is going after that one comment about women's sexuality, and I think that's fair to make that correction, but it just feels tonally like I've never heard an interviewer be like, what is wrong with you? It just feels like that's a little bit on the judgmental side as opposed to correcting that. So this is the point where I'm kind of like, all right, some of the people at this table, it seems like already have their opinion made up about Perez, and that's fine. Everything Emily's saying is completely valid. She would know more about how this type of thing would affect a closeted woman than I would. So I'm not trying to side with Perez Hilton whatsoever.
Let her figure it out herself.
It kind of goes back to just like the nature of what I do, or a show like El Gordo y la Flaca.
What do we do? Okay, tell me.
You don't
I have the
post it.
picture.
You
But
wait
what
for
is
her
the
to
line?
speak.
As an entity, as a show, if we get a picture from Lauren, we would have done exactly the
But
same.
that's up.
How do we know that that picture was
Because
private?
it was known that it was a private family photo.
Did you know that?
No, it was at a wedding. And
Emily is like, "Ugh, it was common knowledge that all of the picture collages from that wedding reception photo booth were meant to go right into Fifth Harmony's underground vault. And it also let you automatically post them to Twitter using the hashtag Mia and Derek forever. But now it's time for us to bring out the woman of the hour, Gabbie Hanna.
Those feuds have escalated to online mobs calling for Gabbie to be canceled.
I don't want Gabbie Hanna to be canceled, although I do demand a public apology for that little backwards walk flapper girl dance. Have some respect for that blue carpet you're walking on. This is not thoroughly modern manic pixie dream girl. She said, oh, welcome to MTV. We're gonna dance to the music television. Ha, 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 ha. MTV. This is what the kids love. Ooh, ooh, ooh. She fully looks like her character in Escape the Night there. So Gabbie comes out and you can tell she's been ready to hit the mic for a minute.
First of all, I cannot tell you how honored I am to be here with everyone at this table.
Well, thank you.
I am obsessed with you so much. Everything that you've been saying about the picture, because you are absolutely correct. It's the equivalent of if somebody starts a rumor in high school and it's kind of gossip among the mean girls, and then somebody takes the overhead and announces it to the entire high school, and then the principal sends a newsletter to the entire community.
And then that newsletter gets reposted to a national email list. And then the major bullet points get reposted on Reddit, where screenshots then get discovered by a major Hollywood producer. Next thing you know, Ryan Murphy is calling to ask you to star in his new mini-series about a group of secretly queer showgirls during the Third Reich. And then Emily is just sitting across the table like, yup, exactly. The classic LGBTQ experience, you got it. You're making only good points, Gabbie. Please, take a moment to catch your breath, then continue.
That's the difference between what they did and what you did.
Wait, sorry, who is the they in this situation? The mean girls that used to gossip about you in high school? I could have sworn before you started that sentence that you weren't going to be talking about yourself there, but now I'm not so sure. It kind of feels like this entire set has been slowly inching towards that black hole of a topic since you got out of your Uber. Basically, Gabbie comes out right away and she tells the group that she's been eager to come out here and talk about this, particularly with Lauren from Fifth Harmony and that photo going live, and she has a major issue with this. And again, I also have a major issue with people being outed before they're ready. I don't think that we can give Perez Hilton that blame though. If we want to say that people shouldn't even comment on news about people's sexuality, that's one argument. Oh, this is an interesting question. I don't think Emily meant for this to sound like an insult. It's okay.
If I ask Gabbie, like, who are you? Are you a musician, actress, entertainer?
I would identify as an artist, first and foremost, of a lot of different kinds. That's how I like to identify.
I also identify as an artist. My pronouns are Crayola and candle making. I'm happy you're feeling artistic, Gabbie, but let's just stick to the occupation you list on your tax returns. Because just like the US government, I want to cut down on how much you feel the need to explain your answer. You get paid for your art because they introduced you as a YouTube star. Most people know you as a YouTube star. It's just about like, are we being true to ourselves? Are we talking honestly? I think Gabbie Hanna is artistic and very creative. I mean, her TikToks seem really spirited, but I mean, I don't know her for her art. I mean, I know her for her self-produced music videos and her storytime YouTube. So I wouldn't have been taken so aback if she said, well, I'm known for my online and YouTube personality, and now I'm really working on building my art career and getting to be known for my visual art or whatever. You know, it's like, where are you actually? Not just what do you identify as, not just what you want us to call you. I'm not talking about for gender pronouns, obviously. If it's really a gender identity, that's whatever you want, baby. The world is your oyster. I kind of feel like there are certain points of Gabbie's interview that feel like she had things that she really wanted to get out. I'm not saying she rehearsed these things word for word. I'm just saying that's how it feels.
I was 22 years old. I just came out of college, and I remember telling people I'm going to be a Viner, and people said, that's not a thing, and I said, it will be.
I sat down with the president of Disney Channel and I said, I want to make history. And that's what this is.
I'm obsessed with Gabbie gloating about how she predicted the rise of the Vine comedian right as they pop up that graphic explaining how short-lived Vine was, along with all of its cultural impact. In 2017 and 18, right after Vine shut down, I was watching Vine compilations like every day. And then recently I went back and rewatched one and I was like, oh, this isn't funny anymore. Like, there are much funnier TikToks now, so I feel like, I don't know, just saying. There are still Vines that I quote all the time, but we have something new now. What can we say? We moved on. Gabbie's like, Vine, I got famous on Vine, and the TV screen is like, for those who don't know what Vine is, because no one does.
But now here I am and I'm 30, and there's so much of my life online and so much of my energy and my privacy that people now have access to that I wish I could eliminate. But these kids now...
So you regret it?
Of course. That's why when I see these children, I was in 10th or 11th grade when I got my first cell phone. We had limited text messages. These kids are on their phone all the time, and what happened in the pandemic is they have nothing to do but be on their phones.
And most of them still aren't fucking up as bad as you are on social media. Is that what you're trying to say? Gabbie loves to point out her age at the top of almost every conversation because she thinks it demonstrates some level of innate maturity. But all I'm hearing is you brag about not having Facebook mobile when you were in high school, while also admitting that every time you've put your foot in your mouth online since then, you've been out of college and probably should have realized that everything you say on the internet is permanent.
I was really eager to hear what you had to say, and it feels like you can't take accountability at all. Like, hearing you speak, it sounds like you have no idea what you're saying. You sound like such a hypocrite. You're still doing the thing that you got canceled for, but you know you don't have to say anything about anyone. Like, you can just shut your mouth, and that'd be cool too.
Me, every time Gabbie Hanna puts out a new music video. See how that's not quite the serve you thought it was, Garba? It's fine to ask Perez Hilton to hold his reporting to a higher standard, but it seems kind of unwise for Gabbie Hanna to invalidate his choice to still work as a gossip blogger when more people would probably be happy to see her herself make all of her social media accounts private and pivot to a quiet career in medical transcription, right? But it's rude to say that to somebody about their job. It's literally like if I said, Gabbie, your last music video didn't get over 1 million views, so you could shut the f up too and save your money, and that'd be cool too. It's like, yeah, but that's not your choice to do. I can give my feedback on your work, but to say don't do it anymore is really rude. And I'm not saying we owe Perez Hilton every grace in the world. Like, again, if you want him to be a different type of writer, then find a way of expressing that without just saying you deserve to just have no career in this and you should be either destitute or go work a different job in the pandemic. Like, everyone's got their job for a reason, right? Like, if people want to make a career change, I feel it should be because they have the freedom to, not because they're being run out of whatever industry they made a mistake in. So I want Gabbie to hold herself to the same standards that she's holding Perez to. The fact that Gabbie Hanna even walked out on this set with the bravado of a $60 frozen pie on Oprah's Favorite Things episode. Did she really not even have the humility to consider the fact that her problematic online interaction from the past might be part of this discussion too? I can't tell if she was just trying to project all the blame onto Perez to seem like the responsible one in the conversation, or if she on some level knew she was there because she got canceled and not for no reason. Not all for a misunderstanding. People know what she did and they have a problem with it. That's the other thing. Gabbie's always trying to re-explain, like in that series of videos she posted talking about her time on set for Escape the Night and in her call with Gabbie Smiles, she's always trying to explain the meaning behind what she said and what she meant when she said it. And it's like, that's all great, and yet people still have a problem with the way you said it. And perception is reality for a lot of people. So if they don't have a chance to hear you explain yourself, you've made that impression. Going back and bringing up what you said and trying to re-explain what it meant is only going to draw more attention to that thing you said and how defensive you are about it, rather than just moving forward and, I guess, doing new stuff, right? All I'm saying is the way Gabbie Hanna handles conflict online tends to come off at best sort of impulsive or defensive. And at worst, it could be called completely manipulative. And I'm sorry, but no amount of her shirt being huge on this TV show is going to distract from that. Perez Hilton is happy to remind.
A lot of people could say the same thing about you. In fact, over the last few months, many people have come forward accusing you of very hurtful, toxic, cruel things.
I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but I feel like we just learned what Gabbie looks like when there's shit in her pants. The face crack of the century.
And people can do their own research.
And if they do, which you'll see, there's nothing there.
As long as they're not conducting that research on a free and public internet. Is that clear? I'm speaking strictly to the researchers who are tuning into this Facebook watch show from the People's Republic of China, or I guess North Korea. Do they get Facebook there? North Korea knows who I, Gabbie Hanna, am, right? International star? You're a regular, what's that guy? Ron Perlman. Nope. Again, Gabbie Hanna tends to have her little quotes about this that she feels perfectly dismiss all of the negative press that she's received.
I never intentionally got into the drama community. The drama community got into me.
Same for me. Every night I just autoplay some YouTube channel with the word tea or spill in the title, wrap my iPhone in plastic wrap, and then slip it up my to soak in all of those sweet drama community vibrations. I get all the tea spillage that was ever tea spilled on the tea table, while also reinforcing my mucous membranes with all of that healthy scar tissue. I mean, it makes no sense for Gabbie Hanna to say I did not intentionally get into the drama community. Most YouTubers don't end up on a drama channel because they want to. Not openly, anyway. You got into the drama community because you had problematic interactions with a person, and people are accusing you of siding with a convicted sexual offender. And anytime you try to disprove that happened, people just prove it even more to be untrue. Like, admit that it looked that way, and you see why people are mad, rather than being like, there's no reason to be mad because I did the right thing. You know, it's like, girl, I love Gabbie talking about herself. I love it.
Feels like the people on the internet literally think you're the opposite of who you are. And I wanted to prove them wrong. Like, I just wanted to show them who I was, but that's where the ego comes in, is I cared so much still about what other people thought about me.
Still now?
No, not now, but like at that point when I was like making those videos.
Oh, so like 6 months ago? I'm not saying people can't completely master their ego in half a year, but I'm pretty sure Gabbie was still posting videos that dug her into a deeper hole around this topic while I was just starting to shop for this past Christmas. And then she comes out, and this segment kind of started with her basically chest bumping Emily and screaming booyah in Perez Hilton's face. So maybe another reason I have a hard time buying that Gabbie doesn't care what other people think about her is because that type of personality trait usually makes someone seem cool, at least mildly cool, and I don't get that from her. You can almost hear how it's still a problem for her when people don't understand the spirit of what she's saying, and I get it. I've been in a lot of therapy and a lot of group therapy, so I know it's a common thing for a lot of us to feel like I don't want conflict when I didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, and it's like, yes, we get it, yet sometimes we still hurt people's feelings and we still need to own up for what we've said. That's where I feel like it's not quite getting through to Gabbie.
Through the course of this, I've lost 2 record deals. I've lost friends, opportunities, money, numbers.
Oh, for the sake of this show, we're gonna say all of that was due to cancel culture and not lack of sustained interest? Okay. I mean, I could see one record deal falling through because you have bad press at the time, but I think most research and development people for record labels are looking for artists who are like unstoppable on the internet, like Bella Port. She got a record deal. Dixie D'Amelio, she got a record deal because you cannot cap their engagement, right? Like, they do nothing and they get millions of views, where Gabbie, I don't mean this offensively because I work doing the same job. I haven't gotten 1 million views since I talked about Shane Dawson over a year ago. But Gabbie complains about not getting the same views that she used to, and she wants to blame that on the shadow ban. She wants to blame that on her cancel culture, really, when it's like, I just think that Storytime videos, like the ones she originally blew up for, definitely aren't as popular as they used to be. Also, I think that the music videos she created no longer naturally draw the same interest because she's just not as relevant of a YouTube celebrity compared to those TikTok viral people like Bella Porch or Dixie D'Amelio. And rather than just focusing her energy as an artist into deciding something fresh and new that is gonna reinvigorate not only her channel, but maybe also bring her to a new artistic level, it seems like she wants to just get back the views she used to have by doing the same music videos and the same content. And it's like, okay, but don't blame us for not watching. Don't blame me, because I'm not watching. So the show ends with Perez and also Gabbie trying to talk about where they go from here.
I don't align with their views, but that's still my family member, and I'm still going to love you. And
That's important, and I'm really glad you said that, because there isn't enough love in disagreement. Just like I came out here, I was like, I don't agree what you're saying about like girls. That's why I came out a little bit heated, because that conversation was like.
We know. You thought this interview was gonna go a lot differently, so now you're trying to backpedal onto the be a bigger person life raft that Perez Hilton is offering you. Not her being like, that's why I came out with so much love when I stepped out on here and gave you the finger and took on your shoes. She's like, that was me coming out with love.
But like, you and I can disagree and we can have nothing but respect and love for each other. You sound like such a hypocrite. Like, hearing you speak, it sounds like you have no idea what you're saying. So thank you for just like pointing that out.
And therefore reminding me to end this interview on a positive note, just like my PR rep told me before I fired her for not existing. Oh, this is something new. They end the segment with a professor from NYU named Gabrielle Gambrell on to the show to talk about cancel culture. She kind of brings up how, you know, one of the reasons we need to cancel some people and not others is like, is the person actually creating harm to society rather than just being a misinformed individual? So is a CEO creating more problems with his harmful business practices? Is a celebrity purveying misinformation about something health related? Those would be, if someone's doing it intentionally, cancelable types of things. And then Perez says, I don't even think cancel culture is a bad thing, which is obviously the position this show is taking. He's saying, you know, I think it's like there's a lot of power in public righteous indignation, and a lot of things get done that way. And I totally agree. Like, protests are all forms of righteous indignation. The Black Lives Matter movement is a form of righteous indignation. The Stonewall riots, it's all because it's like people who are being oppressed or mistreated say enough is enough. This is us taking a stand. So I think cancel culture in its, you know, pure form is doing that. Because honestly, celebrities are people, but they also are business entities who control and influence public opinion a certain extent. content with the work that they create. So if that work that we're paying them for with our eyeballs and advertising impressions is doing something wrong, then yeah, we have the right to speak up. And I agree with Perez that that's not bad.
One of the greatest entertainers of all time, Michael Jackson.
Yes.
You say Michael Jackson, I'm thinking PYT like all day long. However, to some people, if you say Michael Jackson, they may say, don't play that here. They may bring up children. They may bring up certain things.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did I just misunderstand? Or did Professor Gambrell just say she doesn't believe Michael Jackson's sexual abuse accusers? Because that statement was more casual than the 4 doors with 16 locks that Michael Jackson built into the playrooms at Neverland Ranch. I can't stand this. Why are people still standing with Michael Jackson as though it's absolutely sure that his accusers must not be telling the truth? Just because Michael Jackson and the people he had under his thumb might have been able to suppress evidence for long enough to never have it go to trial doesn't mean it didn't happen. Like, how can we believe the women who have accused Jeff Epstein of basically having open child abuse practices because he was globally rich and powerful, but we don't believe the same thing could be done from the globally rich and powerful Michael Jackson when we have people who have very credible stories to prove otherwise? You just love Pretty Young Thing so much that you're gonna play his music. She's like, I'm gonna be playing Pretty Young Thing, but some people might mention children or things that he's been doing or kids he's diddled, you know, like, come on. Yeah, they might say it. You're even not saying it. You're trying to divorce Michael Jackson from what he was accused of because you don't even want to mention child abuse in the same sentence as Michael Jackson because you know it starts an uncomfortable conversation about your fave. I don't see why Gabriella's on here. If that's not what she was intending to say, that's really what it sounded like. And I think a professor should be more clear with her words before she gets on TV and starts denying the accusations of victims of abuse. And anyone in the comments who says that Wade Robson and any other accusers of Michael Jackson were lying for money, I just think that you're victim blaming because we always believe victims. Anyway.
We have this type of society now where everybody is allowed to have an opinion and everybody feels really almost like they're supposed to have an opinion on everything. I think we just need to really lead with kindness more and also try to detach ourselves a little bit from the conditioning that we have with social media, which is this is all we're worth now. Because when those numbers start slipping from 5 million views to 1 million, you're like, well, what am I doing wrong?
Well said. I think that's an analogy we can all relate to and carry with us directly to the toilet. I'm not sure I would have taken away the same complex understanding of this episode's themes without the brilliant handography of Gabbie Hanna bringing it all to life. Oh, numbers dropping, mooses dancing. If I ever get to play the role of Gabbie Hanna in a movie, I'm going to nail her staccato rock star hand movements. Finally nab that Oscar. Oscar is the name of the movie theater phantom I'm trying to impress. I don't even care where the other half of his face went. And that's all she wrote for Red Table Talks. I really like Gloria Estefan as a talk show host, and I actually like the dynamic between Gloria, Lily, and Emily. I think Emily definitely shows herself to be the most socially aware on the panel, and definitely the quickest to come to the defense of the oppressed, which I always appreciate that attitude. I do think that she kind of knew more about Perez Hilton in this interview and therefore knew to be on the offensive for him and knew less about Gabbie Hanna. So they made it a slightly harder interview for Perez than they did for Gabbie. And for that reason alone, I appreciate Perez Hilton at least being the only one to bring up into the conversation the reason that Gabbie Hanna was canceled in the first place. But anyway, I would love to know what you all think. Let me know in the comments below. Also, give this video a big thumbs up if you want to see more Gabbie or influencer content this month. And most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week, so turn on notifications and you'll always be the first to know when I've got a new table to red talk with ya. Also, I've got merch available and a Patreon where you can access exclusive bonus content and virtual watch parties. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you for shadow banning Gabbie Hanna from YouTube with me. I will see you next time.